is happening. It's touching you. They're all yours. You buy their records. You made them stars. Now see them all.
I'm talking to John Giotto of It's My Party, and they're celebrating their 30th anniversary. And I had a bunch of questions for him that I got to know the answer to these. Some of them I could have found on the website, but we'll have him speak for himself. The first question I have for you, John, is what sort of music-related thing did you do prior to It's My Party?
Oh, prior to It's My Party...
Were you in Black Sheep or anything like that?
I wasn't in Black Sheep, although I have worked with Donnie Mancuso on some recordings recently over the past couple of years. I was never in Black Sheep, but I was doing the same type of music. Actually, my first group was in the 60s. I was playing keyboard in a band, and we were doing British Invasion stuff.
Really?
We were very, very young. Yeah, we
Wow.
were like pre-teens at that time, and I wasn't playing drums, which I play now. I was playing keyboard, and I played violin back then too, but obviously you couldn't play violin in a rock band, so I was playing like organ, like Mike Smith was my hero back at the time.
Right, with the DC-5.
Yep. And then in the 70s we did, your heavy, not heavy metal, but hard rock,
like
and your blues
Deep
rock
Purple
stuff.
style or something like that.
Yeah, your Aerosmith and all of that stuff. So
cool.
That's what we did before It's My Party.
Nice. When did the first version of It's My Party come together? When was the first version?
The first version, the idea hatched in 1984, and I was playing in Mike Polinian stage at the time, and it was what I would call a hotel type band. So you would do a dinner set, and then you played your top 40 of the time. So you would listen to the news and all that stuff. And my idea at the time was they were playing 5 and 6 nights a week, and I was actually making money just doing music, and I thought that was really cool. The first time I'd ever really done that, but I got kind of tired of the top 40, and I wanted to do something more musically stimulating for me, so I was just starting to collect girl group records, which I had rediscovered from my youth through Ron Stein.
Ron Stein's
the Lakeshore Record Exchange.
Right.
And I thought, let's put a girl group together. So I reached out to the guys I played in those heavy metal rock and roll bands before, and our first singer that we put an ad in Free Time, and the first singer was Sharon Sutton, and that was probably like December '84.
Wow!
And by the March of '85, we had all three of the girls, Liz Collins and Sonia Trach, and there we go. It's My Party '85.
I think I went to your second set of auditions for like the group after the first group. I think like late '80s.
Yeah.
That.
There were 3 incarnations in the '80s, and the last one was the teenage group, where the music is very teenaged, as everybody knows, and we thought that, let's get actual teenagers to interpret this.
Right, so it sounded authentic.
Yeah, and that's what we did, and we had a blast. I mean, all 3 of those groups were a lot of fun.
How did you discover your first song? The first song you recorded, which is called Can't, by Walt O'Brien and the Insiders. That was the first song.
I think I must have heard that maybe on Whole Lotta Shakin'.
Oh, okay.
And although I was familiar with a lot of Walt's early groups, I might have heard him do that in one of the various groups that he was, Swing Set maybe, I don't know if they did it. And I just approached Walt and I said, hey, I'd really like to re-record this, as a gender bender, and he said fine. In fact, he played harmonica.
Wow, he plays harmonica on that.
Oh yeah, he plays harmonica on that track.
Has he written any other songs for you?
He's never written specifically for us, but certainly there's a guy that you could tap into that would really be sympathetic to what we're doing.
Yeah, he has that style.
Absolutely.
Become a more girl group style instead of using the male version of songs. Can you tell us about some of the backup musicians for It's My Party, like Billy Eberts and Paul Knack?
I mean, as we go through all the years, and if you go to our webpage, we tried to create a timeline with people that played in certain years, and certainly we didn't include everybody in there, but we have some of the people that stayed for at least a season or two, and it's a really impressive lineup. Everybody from Jim Sawicki, who
keyboard player, I think.
Yeah, and I mean he's played with
Chesterfield Kings, I think.
He played with Andy Williams.
Oh, yeah, wow.
To Walt, to Bill Eberts, Paul Kanak. You've got some real heavyweights, Dave Carroll.
Oh, yeah.
And the list just goes on and on and on. And we've got this kid now, James, who I call him my Swiss Army knife. He plays violin, but if we're missing the bass, he could play the bass. If we're missing the guitar player, he could play guitar. If we're missing the keyboard player, he can play.
He's multi-instrumental.
Yeah, it's just amazing what this kid can do, and he's doing a lot of my arrangements now too.
It's very cool to have somebody like that. How is each decade different, or how did each decade of time differentiated in each other in your production of It's My Party? From the 80s to the 90s to the 100s?
Very much so. I think the evolution has been more to defining us as a retro, a 60s styled girl group, where in the 80s, we played a lot of contemporary 80s tunes, all three of those lines.
Yeah, I was going to say Go-Go's and things like that.
Exactly. And I think that when we got into the 90s, we decided to focus on the 60s girl group and a teenage lineup.
Right, with the authentic sounds.
With the costumeage and all that
stuff.
The
hairdos even.
Yeah. We're trying to kind of do what the B-52s did. You know, we're looking a little different. You're going to see guys in suits. You're going to see girls with teased hair and mascara and all that stuff.
What were some of the other recordings of It's My Party that you worked on, like the Gene Pitney tributes and stuff like that?
We were invited to do the Gene Pitney tribute, and we got a really good song. I mean, we actually did get to choose the song. They had like a couple of. Obviously, we couldn't pick "It Hurts to Be in Love." That was probably someone else, some heavyweight already got that one. But I mean, that Boy Belongs to Yesterday, which is the girl that belongs to yesterday, was a really appropriate one for us to interpret, and I think we did a pretty interesting job. That's the only It's My Party recording that I'm not playing drums on.
Wow. That's also a Rolling Stones song, too, isn't it? Or they wrote it for Gene Pitney?
It could have been. I think that's true. And what other Stones ones did we do? We did Much Rather
Be with the Girls.
Girls instead of Much Rather Be with the Boys. You know, you have to ask permission from the publisher to change the title.
Are you serious?
I am not kidding. I had to ask permission to make it Much Rather Be with the Girls, yes, and they granted it to us, fortunately.
That's good. Was that from BMI, I guess?
Yeah, well, I don't know, whatever, ASCAP, I think they might be ASCAP, I forgot.
Two of the girls, namely the Morgan twins, were on American Idol and met Brian Wilson. Others have made their mark elsewhere. Can you reflect on anyone else that's made it in the business outside of
Eliza Snyder has probably, not to take anything away from the Morgans, because they were just amazing what they've been able to do, but she's probably done more than anybody in the entertainment business. She has been on television shows with Howie Mandel. She was the first 4 or 5 seasons of South Park. She did all the female voices, and now she does all the voiceovers for Assassin's Creed.
It's great.
Yeah, so like she's
found her way in.
She's big, you know, and every once in a while I see her. She came a couple of years ago. She came by and just dropped in. Hey, John, I want to do some recording. And she's just a really nice person.
Speaking of recording, I wanted to find a little bit more about Mr. Cat Studio, or it was formerly known as Hat and Hat Studio.
It's Hat and Hat Studio, Mr. Cat Records. Yeah, that's where we do most of our stuff.
Have you recorded other artists there?
I've recorded, yes, but the only other band on Mr. Cat Records is Meddling Kids, but they did not record at Hat and Hat.
Oh, okay. That was Billy Eberts.
That's Bill Ebert's band, yeah.
Let's see. On occasion, I noticed girl groups making a splash, like the brand new group called the 21st Century X Pandoras, or 21st Century Pandoras. Are you aware of others doing what you do? Similar type of or are you one of a kind?
I would listen to that. I have not heard it. I would listen to it, but nobody does what we do. I say this with 100% satisfaction. I've gotten in trouble for saying that. There was actually, I'm not going to mention the town, but there was a woman that was trying to book into one of these towns where they have the yearly shows, and And she says, well, we got someone else that does just exactly the same thing you do. And I said, excuse me, nobody does exactly what we do. Oh, yeah, well, you might say that, but oh, yes, we do. So, no, I think that...
I think you're one of...
We're a very unique group.
Right.
You either like us or you don't like us. We don't try to pander to people. We find people that like what we do. We're not all things to all people.
I find your band to be more intelligent as some type of band. It's not that doesn't just do the hits, but also digs into the deeper cuts.
Oh yeah, because they're so nice. They're so nice, and we're just trying to sell emotion. It doesn't have to be with a. There's nothing wrong with doing hits, but sometimes you want to leave that thing alone because quite at the end of the day, you can't do Leader of the Pack anywhere near as well as the Shangri-Las.
Right,
do.
it's their song versus your song.
Oh, one more. They're calling me.
Last
one more
question.
One more question.
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to know what you think about your original songs by Paul Kanak or Saeed. What is Saeed's last name again?
Abdul Haq.
Okay.
I think they're great, and the unfortunate problem is for them to get recognized, you have to do some covers to lure people in, and then they'll discover your original. You can't. So it's kind of like a Beatles album. If you looked at a Beatles record, 1/3 of it was cover.
Right.
So we're doing the same thing.
And the rest of you.
We're doing the same thing, and right now our next record. And I'm not going to tell you the songs because nobody knows yet, but all 3 are covers, and one is of a band that really cut their teeth in the 70s and 80s.
Wow.
And it is not a girl group. I'll give you that.
But it could sound like a girl group song.
It's a song that could easily sound like a song that came from the 50s or 60s.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And what we're going to
sounds.
do is we're going to do a modern song like a Miley Cyrus or something like that in a 60s way.
That would be interesting.
That's where this group's going next. But I've got to wrap it up because we're gonna play for the first time in 30 years.
All right, John.
Thanks a lot.
I shook on that one. That's the end of our interview with John and It's My Party. Thanks.
Thank you. All right.